Okay, so today we're going to look at a classic medical negligence case called Bolitho versus City and Hackney Health Authority. This case is a must-know for any law student studying negligence, and it has had a huge impact on the way medical negligence claims are dealt with ever since it was decided. So let's get into it. So the facts of this case are that in 1987, a young boy named Patrick Bolitho was taken to St. Bartholomew's Hospital in London because he was having trouble breathing. The doctor who examined him diagnosed him with croup, which is a viral infection that causes inflammation and narrowing of the upper airways, making it difficult for the child to breathe. This can be very serious, and if the airway becomes completely blocked, it can be fatal. And that's exactly what happened in this case. That night, Patrick had a very bad episode where he started to struggle to breathe, and his breathing became very noisy. This is known as the stridor. The doctor who was supposed to be looking after him knew that he might need to be intubated, which means a tube will be inserted into his windpipe to help him breathe. But despite repeated attempts, the doctor never came to see him. And tragically, around 2:30 a.m., Patrick collapsed and suffered a cardiac arrest. The doctor still didn't come. He was eventually pronounced dead at 4 a.m. Patrick's mother brought an action against the City and Hackney Health Authority, arguing that if the doctor had been there and had intubated Patrick, he would have survived. The health authority defended this by saying that even if the doctor had attended, she would not have intubated Patrick. And this was because, according to them, a responsible body of medical opinion would have considered that unnecessary. So this case went all the way to the House of Lords, and it became a landmark case in negligence law, because of the way it refined the test for medical negligence. Before we look at the judgment, let's take a look at the legal rule. As you might already know, healthcare professionals are only liable for negligence if their actions fall below the standard of care expected of a reasonably competent professional. In the case of medical professionals, this standard is often determined by reference to what other doctors would do in the same or similar circumstances. This is known as the Bolam test, which comes from a previous case called Bolam versus Friern Hospital Management Committee. In that case, the court held that a doctor cannot be negligent if they are acting in accordance with a practice accepted as valid by a responsible body of medical opinion. So if there is a range of medical opinions on what is the correct course of action, and the doctor has acted in accordance with one of them, then they will not be negligent. But Bolitho added a refinement to this test. The court held that the medical opinion must withstand logical scrutiny. In other words, it is not enough for experts simply to say, "This is what we do." They must also explain why it is what they do, and show that there is a logical and rational basis for the practice. So applying this to the facts of the case, the court heard expert witnesses who agreed that some doctors would have intubated the child while others would not. And the court accepted that this was a matter of professional judgment. However, Lord Brown Wilkinson, delivering the leading opinion, said that the court must be satisfied that the body of opinion is capable of withstanding logical scrutiny. In other words, the court cannot simply accept the medical opinion as true. They must consider the underlying rationale. And if it makes sense, then they can find that the doctor was not negligent. So in this case, the judge ultimately decided that even if the doctor had attended, she might not have intubated, and therefore her decision, or rather the decision of a hypothetical doctor, would have been within the scope of reasonable medical practice. Therefore, the court found that the health authority was not liable for Patrick's death. So why is Bolitho such an important case? It is important because it refined the Bolam test and placed limitations on the unfettered professional autonomy of medical practitioners. Before Bolitho, the courts were criticized for being too quick to accept expert medical opinion without question. But after Bolitho, the court must scrutinize the medical evidence, and only if it is reasonable, responsible, and logically defensible can the court be satisfied that the defendant was not negligent. Thank you for watching this case briefing on Bolitho. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your classmates. Thanks again for watching, and good luck with your studies.